What if Bitcoin's recent dip to 108K was exactly what Bitcoin needed to start its next leg higher? Well, we're not alone in thinking this. We've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. Just prepare for Q4. I mean, even Nico tweeted, wake me up at the end of September. Well, the president's son, Eric Trump, seems to think exactly like we do. And he is once again predicting $1 million Bitcoin soon, and had this to say about Q4, which begins in 2 days' time. What does he know that we don't? Let's play the clip and we will chat about it and show you guys why we also think Q4 is going to be bullish.
And the future is incredible. The future is bright. The future is incredible. And I think fourth quarter of this year is going to be unbelievable for a host of reasons. So super excited.
How do you think Bitcoin's going to go?
I've always said that I think in time Bitcoin surpasses $1 million. I think with quantitative easing that we're going to have starting tomorrow when the announcement's made, and all signs point in the right direction, unless this guy's really off his rocker, but then he's going to just get laughed out of this country. But I think starting tomorrow you're going to see right drops. You see what's happening with M2, which is the money supply around the world, which is skyrocketing right now. Fourth quarter has always historically been the best quarter, generally the best quarter for cryptocurrencies.
You heard it there, guys. So he obviously side-skirted the question a little bit of how high he thinks the price is going to go this cycle. He's definitely thinking it's going to go to $1 million. I think anyone that's been in Bitcoin long enough also agrees at some point it's going to go to $1 million. I know there's been a lot of calls recently about Bitcoin going to 7 figures this cycle. I'm being a little more conservative here. I'm like everyone in the chat. Can we just break out of this 100K range and I'll be good. I'll be happy at least for a little bit. Anyways, let's roll back the tape a little bit here and kind of show you what happened last week. So we were covering this on the show, but Joe Consorti put this in a great tweet. On Friday, we had the second of the third biggest liquidation event of 2025 in the last 4 days. Literally, we got 2 of the biggest liquidation events in the same week. It did feel like it was over. I'm not going to lie. The 108 drop, I was sitting there like, man, my PTSD is kicking in. I'm starting to feel like it might be over. And the more that everyone says Q4 is when it's going to rip, the more I'm like just a primate here. And I'm like, guys, don't give me good false hope here, because if everyone thinks we're going to pump Q4, it's starting to make me believe that we are not going to pump. But I'm still a believer. Anyways, going on. $2.75 billion in long liquidation leverage has been wiped. Now, if you haven't been in the market long enough, you're probably like, what does this actually mean for me as a holder? Well, usually before Bitcoin gets its legs up or even down, before Bitcoin makes these moves, essentially what you'll see is market makers liquidate the longs and the shorts, essentially clearing out all the leverage so that it can finally run. And we saw over the weekend, it finally recovered. I think, I didn't check the price before we went live, but it's roughly around 114. So we rebounded from 108 to 114. The world is not ending here in Bitcoin. I fully believe that this was probably the last liquidation before it starts running. Now, you heard the end of that clip, which is what everyone is kind of laying their hat on right now, is that we are going into Q4. Now, I've been showing you guys this chart for, I don't know, weeks at this point. And I'm kind of back on my prediction. September isn't as bad as it was on Friday of last week. We're back to about 5% gains of this month. Literally, it was at like 0.86 on Friday. So we've recovered really well. It's becoming, I think this is what, the second best, or actually it's the third best September in Bitcoin's history as of now. If it continues to pump for the next 1 or 2 days, then it's most likely going to at least compete for one of the best months or best September in Bitcoin's history. But that's not where the fun really happens. The fun really happens in Q4, and that's what everyone is expecting, that Q4 is going to see massive gains. What are these massive gains going to look like? Obviously, none of us really know. But when you consider everything that is playing out, obviously the narrative around Bitcoin has fundamentally shifted. We're seeing a lot of institutions come into Bitcoin. The ETFs have been launched. Everyone is coming back from their vacations. They're starting to look at Bitcoin a little more seriously. We're seeing, the Trump administration essentially 180% pivot on their stance on Bitcoin. We're seeing all the institutions have a lot more favorable rhetoric around Bitcoin. It seems like we're going to get some good regulations coming soon. It seems also like the Bitcoin Act might get pushed through this year, which I think should be a top priority, considering that next year is when we're going to start to ramp up for the midterms, and that's going to be a whole other circus. So if the Bitcoin Act doesn't get pushed through very quickly, I think it's going to be extremely hard for them to push that through in 2026. But anyways, the average returns for Q4 historically for Bitcoin is 85%. The median returns are 50%. So if we see something similar there, it looks like October might be being priced in as we speak. I think everyone on Twitter right now is essentially saying one thing, that we are seeing the Bitcoin price kind of set up for a really great October. And it seems like the markets are pricing in an October rally. And I think people are trying to position themselves. If this is the narrative that Eric Trump is talking about, Q4 is going to be extremely bullish, then you have to believe he's not alone out there. I'm pretty sure that other people in these high level conversations are saying something similar. So we might have gotten the last liquidation event, the last dump before Bitcoin starts to rip in October. And if that's the case, if that's what the growing trend is right now, then you can expect that people have been positioning themselves, making sure that they have a good position in Bitcoin before it starts ripping. Though the way Bitcoin works usually is when the price starts running, that's when people start FOMOing into Bitcoin. Now, one other chart before I start passing this off to Nico is Bitcoin News tweeted this. And you guys know me. If you watch this show, you know I'm not the biggest guy in the supply shock meme. Me and Luke have been essentially arguing over whether the Bitcoin leaving exchanges is actually, sufficient data to show that there is going to be a supply shock on the horizon. But we did get some new data, which is very favorable for what is coming. And again, this was Bitcoin News, and they tweeted, buyers of Bitcoin are running the show on centralized exchanges. In the last 30 days, roughly 170,000 more Bitcoin has left than entered, a clear sign of strong net outflows and buyer dominance. And you can check this chart, the 30-day net flows. Here is the amount of Bitcoin leaving the exchanges. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been covering this, and it's been pretty brutal out here for everyone in Bitcoin because we saw hundreds of thousands of coins hit the exchange from dormant whales. We're still seeing dormant whales send Bitcoin. A 2013 wallet just opened up. It moved some coin for the first time. So there are a lot of OG holders of Bitcoin that are starting to wake up, move their coin, which has been kind of one of those significant indicators showing us that, one, there's probably a lot less Bitcoin lost than we believe, and two, that some of these OG whales are still looking at 100K as their price point. And so they're taking a little bit off the table. Now, what this all means, though, in response to this chart, I'll pull it back up one more time, is that there is an increased amount of buyers happening right now. So even though we are seeing a lot of coin hit the exchange, we're seeing a lot of coin being taken off the exchanges, which really leads into, as Rustin loves to say, the mother of all supply shocks on the horizon. So it looks like the buying is increasing. It looks like people are starting to get into a good Bitcoin position, though you could argue that this isn't necessarily retail or institutions setting up. This is probably retailers getting themselves into a good position. Maybe arguably say that this is high net worth individuals packing their bags before the institutions do kind of go in feet first into Bitcoin. But reeling this all back to what Eric Trump was saying. Now, Nico and I have been covering this kind of debate on the show constantly, is that we are right now seeing that Bitcoin has been kind of divided on party lines. But even though people may not like the rhetoric coming out of the Trump family or the Trump administration, you are starting to see a shift here where it's becoming a bipartisan issue. And so everyone in the know right now, especially when you consider the gold charts, and I didn't bring that up, but I'm going to bring that up in a minute. I'm going to let Nico chat about what I just covered. You're starting to see that people are getting into Bitcoin. And if this is setting up for a good October rally, I think the FOMO coming from not only retail, but high net worth individuals from both sides of the aisle, and of course, internationally, there's been a huge uptick in conversations around strategic Bitcoin reserves globally right now. So it looks like it may have taken 10 months for us to get to this point, but it looks like the fireworks are going to go get put into overdrive here. And I don't mean to, mix up metaphors here, but the end of the year, it's starting to feel like Q4 is going to follow historical patterns. I'm starting to feel really good about where we are right now. The response from 108 to 114 is starting to make me feel a little better. But again, maybe it's just the Bitcoin contrarianness about me where I'm seeing everyone say it's going to start pumping in Q4. And maybe this is the Pareto principle thing. If 80% of the market thinks it's going to do something, then it's probably not going to do that. I don't know if we're at that point, but there is a lot of bullish charts out there from other Bitcoin Twitter guys saying like, man, we are setting up for a great end of the year. So I'm starting to feel good, guys. You know me, even though Uncle Rockstar makes fun of me, my emotions are wrapped with the Bitcoin price. So as the price goes up, I start feeling better. I was actually even nicer to Nico this morning. So, something's in the air, but I'm feeling good. Anyways, Nico, before I pull up the gold charts and stuff, I think, which also shows what is happening. What do you think about this? Are you starting to feel Q4 is going to happen, or are you feeling the contrarian 80-20 Pareto principle like I am?
First, I want to say that Opti is in a good mood, and Opti is being nice to me. So that definitely means Bitcoin is pumping. That's number one. Number two, you guys have to understand the context and zoom out a bit to understand the significance of what was just said, because it was significant. Make no mistake, it was a big effing deal. You have the president's son. Remember, the president owns, I believe it's the 6th largest Bitcoin treasury company. I saw a post on X talking about, I think it's like 10% of their net worth is now in Bitcoin. And you have the president's son going on legacy corporate media and saying, we're going to $1 million per coin in Q4 of 2020.
Well, I don't know if he said Q4, but specifically he said soon, in a soon time. So
again, Trump's only in office for 3 more years, and he can't run again, right? He can't run for office after that. He's confined by the Constitution. So, that's 3 years. What does he know that we don't know, right? Because there's a lot of internal dialogue and internal politics. You have to understand, guys, like, you tune into a lot of these shows, and some of these shows have insider sources. Sometimes we get interviews for you guys from people that work inside, the halls of power, but they are privileged to information that we don't see, right? There's a lot of things that are happening in the background that we don't know. We don't see it. We're not to that information. So when he says something like that, again, he's incentivized for his bags to pump. But his bags pumping, pump your bags, because he's holding Bitcoin, you're holding Bitcoin. This is the alignment of incentives of Bitcoin. So when I saw that clip on Friday on X circulating, I was kind of upset because I was like, dude, we could have used this for the show and the show would have been a slapper. Like, the president's son just said that Bitcoin's going to $1 million. And the president, the Trump media organization, is the 6th largest Bitcoin treasury company. Like, put 2 and 2 together. Like, it's not rocket science, right? We went from our industry being attacked during Operation Choke Point 2.0, me and Opti seriously considering moving to El Salvador, to literally the president's son saying, hey, we're going to $1 million per coin. And mind you, he's speaking at every single Bitcoin conference, right? And the vice president just spoke at the previous one. So despite Bitcoin's terrible price action this year, I don't care what anybody said. Oh, we're in a bull market, Nico. Bro, 25% the year after the halving. No, that's not bull market territory for Bitcoin. That's like, we might as well just rename
Boomer bull market.
Simply S&P 500 at that point, right? So no, it's not a bull market in Bitcoin terms. And I get it that there's diminishing returns.
Bull market.
But even if you take into account Michael Saylor's CAGR, he still thinks that the first couple of years is going to be 40 to 30% CAGR. We haven't even seen that this year. And this is the year after the halving. So, this is the moment of truth. We are going to find out heading into Q4, which, by the way, air horns, please. Starts in 2 days. Q4 starts in 2 days. And Uptober is historically one of the most bullish months for Bitcoin. Now, does that mean that it's going to continue being the case? I don't know. We shall see, right? So far, Bitcoin's recovered from the dump to 109K. It's at 100, hit 114K this morning. Are we out of the woods yet? I don't think so. But things are looking better because that crash last week was pretty bad. It was like a ghost town. Like no one was here. No one was there. Everyone was invisible.
Yeah, and the YouTube analytics, we don't bring those up, but all of Bitcoin content across the whole platform is wrecked, and you can just tell that no one is searching for Bitcoin right now, which is the best opportunity for everyone out there.
Yeah, no one cared. Like no one cared. The last 3 days, the last 3 days of last week, work week, were
rough.
Were horrible. It was horrible. Like it literally, like we haven't, and we have these types of analytics, of course, we're a media company. So we have these types of like background things, and I'll give you guys an insider insight. The amount of volume in terms of people actively watching Bitcoin or crypto related content, the last 3 days of last week was the same as the bottom of the last bear market. It was the same, just to kind of give you guys an idea. Opti and I were looking off a cliff. We were like, oh my God, like, is it over? Is it done? Right? And it could still be.
Nico, wait, I'm going to put you on blast. Nico, while we were doing the videos and stuff, and I was pulling up a chart, and he's like bumping me, and the show's like, dude, is it over? Is it over, dude?
And here's the thing. Now, what I'm really excited to find out, and it's finally here, like the comment section, the Q4 is historically, Opti showed it in the beginning.
I'll pull it up
the
again.
best time historically that Bitcoin performs. It's always Q4. Okay. So we're going to find out, is this cycle different? That's stop being nice to Nico. That's the first thing that we're going to find out. Is this cycle different? We're going to find that out. We're going to find that out very quickly, very fast. We're going to find that out. Is this cycle different? That's number one. Number two, we're going to find out if this cycle is like the rest of the cycles. And then we're going to find out if we're going to have an extended cycle. Because people are talking about potentially seeing Bitcoin go up into Q2 of 2026 because this cycle was so delayed, because the price appreciation was not that great this time around. So anyways, guys, buckle up. And
Q4 is coming, guys. Q4. It's here.
It's going to be good. Is here. But it's a really good sign. It's a really good sign when you have the son of the president of the United States calling for $1 million Bitcoin. You have Brian Armstrong, the CEO of the world's largest Bitcoin crypto exchange, calling for $1 million Bitcoin. Right? Like it's,
I don't know. I don't believe in the wisdom of the herd, Nico.
But again, it's like, is the herd wrong? Like, is it all like? Are they all just wrong? And we're just it's over. Bitcoin's going back to 10K.
Dude, Ponzi is over. Right? It was fun while it lasted.
Like, could that be it as well? Right. So, what was the thing about you saying that Bitcoin, that there was this kind of like partisan situation? Because I did want to comment on that.
Oh, well, I was just saying, I know a lot of people right now, and I've actually been covering this since probably last year. I was seeing signs of this at the very beginning of last year, the very end of last year when Trump came out and embraced Bitcoin. And I'm sure you guys could go back in time and find the clips, and I don't remember the exact dates, but I was basically saying all this year that what we're going to see come down the pipeline is that the media is going to have this bent towards Bitcoin or crypto at large and be like, oh, this is a Republican issue. And I know some people in the chat have been saying that like, oh, you know, I don't like the Trumps. They're bad for Bitcoin and crypto. And I was like, look, this isn't a partisan issue, but what we are seeing towards the end of the year is that the left is starting to embrace Bitcoin. And now it's becoming this bipartisan issue, which I think is a great thing because, look, if every politician out there was embracing Bitcoin, then maybe you'd actually have to look at what they wanted to do. But as a Bitcoiner right now, Nico is literally a single issue voter. If they're embracing Bitcoin, then he'll say something favorable about them. But if they're all embracing Bitcoin, then we can actually start critiquing them and comparing them against each other and who has the better kind of takes on Bitcoin. But as Dennis Porter kind of embraced the governor from California, you're seeing that there is a new trend coming from the left showing that, yeah, we will embrace Bitcoin. And I think that is starting to shift the conversation because now you can no longer just say, oh, this is like some MAGA money thing. Like, oh, this is a Republican idea. It's like Bitcoin transcends both sides of the party. And we're starting to see that play out. So it took a long time to get here, but we're finally getting here, Nico. And that was the point that I was kind of trying to elaborate on.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a little bit unfortunate, right? Where, you know, you kind of created this situation where I think Bitcoin is for anyone. Anyone can. I want to differentiate it. I don't think Bitcoin is for everyone. I think Bitcoin is for anyone. I think there's a big differentiator there. But I think the fact that it became partisan was unfortunate because this is a technology that will help everybody. If you are saving and earning in fiat, regardless of your political beliefs, you are getting affected unless you're very wealthy. If you're very wealthy, you're not saving in fiat. You're parking your assets and you're parking your disposable income, your wealth into assets. Assets benefit tremendously when central banks print money. So it's actually good for you, right? You don't really care about inflation if you're wealthy, but if you are the rest of the population, let's say the middle class and the lower class, you know, you get hammered every time they print money. Your salaries lose purchasing power, your savings lose purchasing power because you're most likely saving in dollars. So, you know, Bitcoin is for anyone. Like the fact that it's helping anyone live the American dream, I think is a positive thing. So I don't think fundamentally it's partisan. I think both political parties, even though I'm a big fan of the Republican Party right now because they've taken a pro Bitcoin stance and we got Ross Ulbricht free, which was a fantastic achievement by the Bitcoin community, and it's a testament to our power and influence in Washington. But you know, I would love to see that policy shift from the Democratic Party as well. I think it would help their, you know, I think it would help their voting base. I think that it would help them reconnect with a big part of the younger generations, which right now are hurting the most. Like if you're a millennial or Gen Zer, you know, you are disproportionately affected by the policies of the central bank over the last 10, 20 years. Like 2008 was such a historic moment, not only because it was around when Bitcoin was born, but because of what happened during the Great Depression. Like you had central banks print an ungodly amount of money. We still have not paid the price for that. I can't emphasize this enough, guys. Like we still have not paid the price for what happened in 2008, 2009. Why is there wealth inequality? Why can't young people afford things? It's because
I think we paid the price, but we didn't pay the bill.
There you go. I think that's a really that was a really astute comment by Opti. I completely agree. We've paid the price for it, but we have not paid the bill, and the millennials are paying the bill, and that comes in the form of nihilism. That comes in the form of political division. That comes in the form of despair. So if you want to know why tensions are so hot right now politically in the United States and around the world, it's because people know something is wrong. Where I think people get confused is they think they can vote themselves out of this. And you can vote yourself out of this, but it's not like, voting for a politician, then waiting for the politician to come save the day. I think voting for the right politicians to enact the right policies is incredibly important. But I think the most important vote you can make as an individual is to vote with your wallet, to vote with where you are putting your time, your energy, and your money. And that's Bitcoin. That's my personal opinion. Been doing this for a little bit, 2 cycles now, 3 cycles, I think now.
Dude, like my whole adult life now. This is crazy.
1/3 of my adult life, going
1/3 of my life. This is nuts.
Going and literally talking about Bitcoin for a living, right? It's crazy.
Anyways, Nico, I do want to, I'm not going to pull it up, but I did while Nico was ranting, look up the S&P gains year to date. And it is at 13.5%. And the Bitcoin gains year to date is like 24%. So, hey, even though we're trading the S&P 500 now, guys, we are still doing better than the S&P 500. So there, I guess there's that silver lining here. But I did mention I wanted to talk about gold right now, because I think what we're seeing in gold is really an indicator of what is going to happen. Of course, Eric Trump in that clip was mentioning the M2 money supply. Quantitative easing is back on the table. We had Scott Bessent basically saying we are going into an easing cycle. They have cut the rate cut, or they have cut the interest rates. And so it seems like, the credit is going to expand. They're trying to incentivize the expansion of the money supply. We showed you guys this last week. M2 is basically at all-time highs. Again, you can't store in dollars right now, any kind of dollars. And this is where the conversation really leads to what's going on with gold. And I don't know if you guys are following gold. We've actually kind of been like, pseudo Peter Schiffs here on the show, because gold's been ripping. It's still hitting new all-time highs. I think, here we go. So Kobayashi letter, they're kind of like gold bugs. Gold is absolutely on a tear. It's all-time high, $3,800. I actually didn't check it this morning before I went live on the show, but it's at all-time highs. And it's made its 38th all-time high of 2025, with gold futures now up plus 43% year to date. And this is putting gold on a track for its best year since 1979, as the Fed cuts rates into 3% inflation. And as they end this tweet with, gold knows what's coming next, or rather those investing in gold know what's coming next. And this isn't just retail investing in gold. We also saw that by the end of last week, global reserves in gold are at basically all-time high compared to treasuries. Central banks are dropping treasuries all around the world for gold. So everyone is moving into a hard currency. Obviously, from our perspective, we think Bitcoin is superior, and historically, Bitcoin pumps a lot harder than gold. But Santiago Capital makes a very astute kind of view here, astute take here. And he goes, gold is not rising because China or Russia want it to rise. They are not weaponizing it against the West. It's rising because the entire system is precarious. All fiat is being debased. And those other countries' currencies are in even more trouble than the USD, and they all know it. This is what we've been saying. We're not fiat doomers here, because I have a clip here of Michael Burry following us, and it's going to essentially show that there's still a lot of room to run here. There's still a lot of room for them to debase our currencies. But this is a signal of what is happening right now, that everyone knows their currencies cannot be held. A lot of currencies outside of the dollar are getting hit harder than the dollar, and so they're going into gold. Gold runs, or actually it's been running essentially all year, and Bitcoin usually does delay the gold price movement, and then it runs even harder. And this guy here, absolutely love this tweet. because everyone's basically saying, oh, gold's topping out. Gold, this is the top for sure. And, he's quote tweeting someone talking about the Weimar Republic, and gold once again warning us that we can't ignore economic reality, or we can ignore economic reality, but not the consequences of that reality. This time, the problem is global and driven by the biggest credit bubble in the history of mankind. And he just quote tweets, goes, and in Weimar 1921, they kept waiting for the gold correction. So I think a lot of people right now from the TradFi world are waiting for this gold correction. But if we are entering a Weimar hyperinflationary type scenario right now, where they are saying they're going to ease, they're going to continue to expand the money supply, they're going to lower the interest rates. They're basically projecting that, yeah, we're going to debase our currency to a level never seen before. And everyone's just waiting for gold to correct. There's people on the sidelines, or rather maybe in their position selling out right now of gold, and it just keeps hitting all-time highs. And now we have Bitcoin, which is just a totally different type of animal in the traditional financial system. It's a totally different beast. I'm actually reminded of that Kobe, the Kobe commercial of like, it's a different beast, but the same animal. It's like, what are you even talking about? Bitcoin, I think what we're going to see in 2 days' time, or rather, I guess, 1 day? Is October in 2 days?
It's
is it 30 days in September?
So it's 30 days. So,
okay, so yeah, it's still 2 days for October.
So a day and a half.
Day and a half. Guys, I think finally we are going to get what we've been waiting for. What we were promised at the beginning of the year. I think it's here, guys.
No, what Trump, listen.
Dude, 150 by end of year. He said early in his candidacy or presidency.
President Trump promised us that we were going to go to the moon during his 2024 Nashville keynote, which was historic when he was still a candidate. He promised us that we were going to pump into 2024. Into 2025.
And look, hold on. I'm gonna
all his promises from a policy perspective.
I want to put one wrinkle in here, Nico.
But he has not kept the pump promise, bro.
He's been trying to
not kept the pump promise.
No, I think
it's
with
very
Eric,
disappointing.
I think with what you said earlier about Eric Trump, and how I opened up the show. What does he know? Obviously, publicly, he can't say too much. But he said, quote, Q4 is going to be unbelievable. And just kind of speculating here, I would venture to guess that he knows something is coming on the horizon of really big buys, of people coming into Bitcoin, private conversations that he can't actually say publicly. And if the action in the price we're seeing right now essentially means that people are accumulating Bitcoin, then Q4, October, is when the ignition gets lit. I think it's safe to say that maybe he will come through with that last prediction, 150K early in the 47th presidency.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a fantastic show. We have so much content for you guys. Opti, you want to give the audience a little bit of a hint?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, there's a clip going around on Twitter of Michael Burry kind of explaining when the fiat system is on the verge of just total calamity. We're not there yet, but, I wanted to play this clip to just kind of give you guys, the working model of what you should be looking forward to. And I'll show you guys the current kind of debt clock right now, what's going on. And then, hey, over the weekend, dude, the ECB just continues to double down on a CBDC. I want to cover some of the speech that was said. I think there's some interesting tidbits in there. And of course, looking at the framing of how they are trying to market a CBDC is just like, okay, we've seen this before, and yet they are continuing to double down on the same type of rhetoric. And then I gotta, I'm going to give the 2020 class a little bit of applause at the end of the show in culture. We got a good visual showing you guys just how easy it is to win right now. So with all that being said, of course, I want to remind you guys to smash the like button, comment on this video, tell us what you think about the show, and of course, hit the subscriber button. We're dropping the best content on YouTube, period. So again, one more thing before I move on. Our boys over at Bitcoin Well are building the best way to buy Bitcoin. The reason this is because they never hold your Bitcoin. They have never lost Bitcoin, and they will never lose your Bitcoin, because when your money goes through, the Bitcoin gets sent directly to you. I repeat, they never hold your Bitcoin. It goes directly to your cold storage. And if you're on the sidelines right now and you want to get a bunch of cash into Bitcoin, make sure you hit the Bitcoin OTC desk, the Bitcoin Infinite Well product, where you can buy $50,000 of Bitcoin or more at a time. You can smash buy Bitcoin. If the gold price is scaring you, if you're seeing countries drop treasuries, if fiat debasement is finally worming its way into your brain, you got to get in touch with the Infinite Well team, because they will give you a white glove service, which essentially means they'll sell you the Bitcoin, but they're also going to make sure you can secure this Bitcoin long term for generational wealth. Anyways, on that note, let's get into the rest of the show.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody.
Wait. I wanna see this. Oh wait, yeah, go. Continue. Sorry.
Guys, check out the new 12-word StampSeed plate. This was made by the StampSeed team by popular request. Normally they have the 24-word seed plate, but people were asking for a 12-word seed plate. Now it's available only on stampseed.com. Use promo code SIMPLY to get a 15% discount. Their new kit, the new kit design is fantastic. Carbon fiber, comes with all the letters, comes with the anvil, comes with the hammer, the famous StampSeed brass hammer, perfect for hammering those letters into the plate. So head over to stampseed.com today. Use promo code SIMPLY. Get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
All right, wait, Nico, before I go, Idaho Puma goes, if we don't pump October, you guys are fired. Dude, if we don't pump in October, I'm out, dude. I'm going to sell my 32 sats and it's over for me, okay? So we're in the same boat. No, I'm joking. There's nothing else to hold but Bitcoin. Anyways, over here on Clark Moody's dashboard, the current Bitcoin price is $113,780 per coin. That is a decline from all-time high of negative 8.5%. The market cap is $2.27 trillion, and the current block height, the only time that matters is the block height, is currently at 916,941. So, again, I wanted to play this clip here because we here as Bitcoiners, we're always looking at indicators of where the fiat system is, how much can the fiat system withstand. A lot of people point to what happened in Japan and their debt to GDP ratio and essentially using that as an indicator that we can go for a lot longer. This clip, I don't know the time of this. It seems to be a little bit old. This is Michael Burry, of course, infamous for The Big Short movie, who essentially called the 2008 subprime blow up. And this is his take of what you should be watching for when the fiat system can officially be titled a Ponzi and essentially no longer work. So let's play this clip and we will chat about it, and I'll show you the debt clock of where we are right now.
Well, I think the point at which the degree to which we can tax our population is eclipsed by the amount of our interest on our debt, basically makes us a Ponzi scheme of some sort. And I think that's the point. I think it's very hard to pick that spot. There's a long, long history. This is one of those things I think our leaders, our government are kind of in this teenage state right now. There's this long history we can rely on for a more mature view of how things work. And I think there's a long history of governments lasting a whole lot longer than they should. And, you know, a lot that we'd rather not have happen. Certainly all the dictators seem to get it done. So I think, you know, it's difficult to time that very precisely. I think we'll have a warning, though. I think a smart analyst, or I shouldn't say that, because I don't even think I'm so smart. I was definitely 50th percentile here at Vanderbilt, no higher. I think if you just pay attention, you'll get a warning sign. Heck, you know, when I figured out the subprime thing, I had to do it off human behavior and various sources of witchcraft wizardry in 05. By early 06, it was apparent in the actual filings that were being made every month. And you just had to look at that, and it was really easy. And so I think you'll see that. If you're thinking, oh, one day a treasury auction will fail, and then I'll have, you know, I don't see that happening, because I think we have enough domestic consumers of debt, including the Fed, but including military pensions, whatever, Social Security, et cetera, that it's too easy for the government to hide that. And I don't know that you can wait for that.
All right. So first of all, that dude's a genius, number one. But at the same time, I don't know if you caught that joke. He makes the same joke that Opti makes, right? Which is like, Opti's a genius.
No, 42 IQ.
Michael Burry's a genius, but they're very humble about it. They're like, I was in the 50 percentile.
Dude, that's better than me.
Mind you, this is a guy who like predicted what happened in 2008. Opti's got some of that wisdom up his sleeve too.
Guys, it's just a life hack, okay? Michael Burry gets
just
it.
Act dumber than your mark. Is that what it is, bro?
21st law of the 48 laws of power. Go read it up and learn about it. Anyways, let's talk about what he said.
He's the one actually pulling all the strings.
Quite possibly.
Opti is actually the one controlling the Bitcoin price. Opti, when are we going to pump, bro?
Dude,
when are you going to call the Bitcoin CEO?
The Bitcoin CEO says hodl. It's going up. I already called him. Okay, so a few things that I want to point out. One is, again, maybe it's because we both have 42 IQs and we're just like idiot savants. We constantly say the same thing. And I think this is why I wanted to play that clip, because you guys know me. I only trust the science when it confirms my bias here. And he is confirming my views on a lot of things. One is the idea of the fiat system can last a lot longer than a lot of people believe it will. Now, I know a lot of Bitcoiners, and I love them, and they're a lot of my friends, and I respect them. There is a lot of fiat doom on Twitter where, like, the dollar is going to blow up tomorrow. And even though I do believe that that is a possibility, it's a non-zero chance it's going to happen, and it will happen at some point. What is becoming very clear to me, and he said it multiple times in that clip, is this idea that those people in power, those close to the money printer, the Fed, central banks around the world, even, you know, the big private banks, they have a lot of tools under their belt that will essentially obfuscate what is going on in the fiat system. And it really reminds me of one of the tweets by Balaji about the end of the Soviet Union or the USSR, where they were manipulating all of the economic data until it essentially became too obvious for them to no longer lie about what is going on. And as someone that's been covering the news constantly on this, and we covered this constantly on the show, is that a lot of the economic data, and it actually just finally came out like last week from the Trump administration. Scott Besant's been on a freaking hellfire tirade about it, that a lot of the data that they've been using has been wrong or essentially outright manipulated to kind of paper over what's going on, because everyone uses this data to make make decisions in the fiat system. And now it can't come out that, yeah, a lot of this stuff is just manipulated and it's wrong. And this is the system that the smartest people in the room are making their economic decisions on, and they're the ones that are running the economy. And we're starting to find out that you can't trust a lot of the information, official information coming out of these institutions. And this is where we've been telling you guys for a long time that the only real economic data, the only data that hasn't been manipulated, or maybe manipulated to the same extent, is the Bitcoin price and the Bitcoin time chain. That is the only real economic data in the world currently. Now, the part where I'm going to pull up the US debt clock is where he's talking about how can you know if we are in a fiat Ponzi? Or, you know, how do we know when the fiat system no longer has steam left in its engine? And it's essentially when the interest on our debt, obviously here I will show you the current U.S. national debt is $37.5 trillion. The unfunded liabilities total debt is $104.6 trillion. And he essentially said when the interest payments exceed the tax income, that's when you know that the fiat system is going to blow up. Now, just to kind of maybe put some cold water on us here, there's still a long ways to go till we get to that point. So the U.S. interest on debt is currently $1.05 trillion. And I'm not exactly sure which number he is kind of basing this on. He just said tax revenue. So the U.S. federal tax revenue is currently $5.5 trillion. So right now we're at what, a 1-to-5 ratio. So if that is, an indicator of where we're going, they can still pump, I don't know, 4 times the amount of where we are. So this really goes back to the Weimar hyperinflationary scenarios where the next decade could just get even more catastrophic in sense of money printing. Like they could basically jack up the money printer by like 4 times here. And then maybe we will get to a point where people start to wake up to this data and realizing that this is untenable. So if you're waiting for, I don't know, the Fed to officially announce or capitulate on the dollar, I think we still have a long ways to go. And one more little tidbit is the debt to GDP ratio that a lot of people kind of point to as this is unsustainable. You can see here, it's currently at 123.94%. That's currently in here. You have some historical levels. In the 60s, it was 52%. In the 80s, it was 34%. In the early 2000s, it was 56%. So compared to historical levels, we are, double what has been historical highs. Though, when you look at what Japan's been doing, which is one of my favorite Bitcoin theories, is that the reason Satoshi Nakamoto picked the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto was really to give a nod to the US and the Western world. Is like, look, if you don't figure out this debt problem now, you're going to end up like Japan. And Japan's current GDP to debt ratio is like 236. So even if you're using that metric, there's still, a 1x to go here before things even get crazy. Japan had some troubles in their bond markets. But if you're using Michael Burry's number here, we basically have, a 4 or 5x to go in money printing before it becomes completely obvious to people that this is a fiat Ponzi scheme, or as Max Kaiser likes to call it, a bond apocalypse, fiat Ponzi. There's still a long ways to go in this. So buckle up. It's going to be a long road, but hey, you are protected by Bitcoin. And the longer we have before they blow this up, the better everyone else will be. So I'm kind of like on the fence on this, even though we know this is where it's going. As Lynn Alden says, you can't stop the train. I think there's still a lot of fuel left in the train to keep it going, which is something I have been saying for a while. Last thing before I pass it over to Nico, he did mention failed treasury auctions. And this makes me believe that this clip was a couple of years old, maybe 5-10 years old. The wisdom is still good. The evergreen content is still great. But we did see this year literally failed treasury auctions, but it went completely under the radar. The Fed had to buy their own treasuries. And this is why a lot of people have been saying that, oh, the fiat system is doomed because no one wants treasuries right now. So we are starting to see these indicators, but if you're using this metric of interest on our debt payments, compared to our tax revenue, I think there's still a long room to run, and there's still a lot of paperwork that they can obfuscate what's going on. So that's just kind of my take. I don't know, Nico. I did kind of macro nerd out there for a minute. So
no, I mean, I think you made some really good points. And what I will say, because Opti and Opti's brother from another mother, Michael Burry, we're essentially kind of describing the fiscal situation in the United States. Now, Lynn Alden says nothing stops this train. Larry Lepard makes the thesis that, look, like they're going to have to print it. They're going to have to print the difference. I think that's obvious. But what I want to focus on is the symptoms of the money printing. I truly believe that what you're seeing today, a lot of the madness that you're seeing in today's society are symptoms of broken money. And I think it's deeply affecting the psychology of people. And I think it plays a big responsibility in the political atmosphere that we see today in America. And let me explain to you why I believe that's the case. Number one, it drives wealth inequality. The biggest destabilizer of a society is wealth inequality. That's one of the biggest things. Number two, if people think that money could be printed out of thin air, I think that they are no longer anchored to reality. I think it creates a God complex in politicians. I think it creates this, what's the correct word for this? This feeling of entitlement from people because they feel like anything is possible. We can just print this. You see this with the current mayor that's running in New York. It looks like he's going to win. And he's talking about collectivist ideas that have been tried economically, politically, for more than a century and have failed every single time. And the reason that he's able to do that, he's promising 60 million for this, 100 million for that. Doesn't sound like a lot of money when the government is saying it. But could you imagine, I just want you guys to imagine a world where all of a sudden the politicians couldn't promise money anymore. The politicians could no longer send $100 billion to a foreign country so that they can fight a war. Could you imagine that type of world? Because that's what the world would look like under a Bitcoin standard. It would bring sanity back to money. That's why it's called sound money. It would, by definition, limit government spending. And by limiting government spending, government could only grow so big. Government would only grow as big as its utility, as its purpose. I tweeted this out this morning because I'm seeing all these crazy videos that's happening that are these crazy tweets, these crazy videos, these crazy posts. And I'm not going to get into a lot of it, but you guys could check out my X account. But basically, I'm making the case that, like, look, guys, what is government? Like, what is the role of government in society? Like, I didn't sign up for digital IDs. I didn't sign up for CBDCs. I didn't sign up for all the other policies that I can't talk about.
But Nico, you love the social contract.
But we didn't sign up for all this stuff. We didn't sign up for, the government bailing out banks. That was not the original vision of the United States of America. The original vision of the United States of America was limited government. Because the more limited government is, the more freedom you have as an individual. The more the government gets involved in the economy, the more regulations there are, the less freedom you have and the less prosperity you have. Like, that isn't a philosophy. Like, that isn't just me just speculating. That is literally like there's data. We have 100 years of data. And you could just look at it. It's all there. It's very obvious. You can see this stuff, right? So going back to Opti's point, like what you have since 1971, it hasn't even been 100 years yet, is this fiat experiment that has led to catastrophic outcomes. Catastrophic. It is time for the government not to be involved in money. It's over. It's been terrible. We trusted them. We gave them the benefit of the doubt. We experimented. We said, okay, let's give it a shot. There's no better way. Who else are you going to trust with money? Right? You could say, okay, you could trust it with like the private sector. Okay, but then there's no accountability there. Okay, so you leave it with, the so-called public sector. But this is when the Freudian slip happens, right? Because when you hear the central bankers talk about Bitcoin, I love this example. When you hear the central bankers talk about Bitcoin,
well, we're going to expand on that more later. So
when you hear the central bankers talk about Bitcoin, what they talk about is that Bitcoin is private money. They call it private. And they infer that the dollar or the euro or the pound is public money. That's how they say it, right? Okay. Let's use that let's just break it down. Anyone can make more Bitcoin. You just have to invest in the mining infrastructure. There's no special privileges. Michael Saylor and you, there's a set of rules. You can't change those rules. Doesn't matter. Michael Saylor can't change the rules. The United States government can't change the rules. The rules of Bitcoin are set in place. Rules without rulers. There's 21 million Bitcoin. Can't change the rules. You can make more of it. You can audit it whenever you want. In fact, you can download your own version of the Bitcoin software, aka running a node, and you could look at the chain. You say, "Oh wow, look at that! I could see every single Bitcoin transaction since the beginning of time. I could audit the Bitcoin network, and I could find out the exact supply of Bitcoin today if I put in a command into my node. I could do that. I can see every transaction, every single transaction. It's public information. Now, that is what the central bankers call private. Can you create more dollars? No, you go to jail. That's, what's the word?
Counterfeiting.
Counterfeiting. Can you audit the Fed?
That's called accountability.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Can you audit the Fed? They don't even know there was an executive order in January basically asking the government, how much Bitcoin do we have? The order was due in April 5th. It's almost October, and we still don't know how much Bitcoin the government has, right? And that's in stark contrast to how El Salvador is operating. El Salvador, you literally see it. It's clear as day. They have their Bitcoin reserves public. Anyone can see it all the time. Do you know how much gold is in Fort Knox? We haven't seen a picture of that gold for like 30 years. We have to
it's longer.
We have to take their word for it. And remember how that gold got there. They built Fort Knox to house all the gold that was confiscated via the executive order 6102 in the 1930s. So we don't have transparency. We don't have accountability. You want to know why governments are doing what they're doing? There's no accountability. If they're able to print the money and fund themselves, remember, they don't produce anything. Why would they feel accountable to you? It's a misalignment of incentives. And this is what Bitcoin fixes. If you move a society to a Bitcoin standard, all of a sudden those politicians are going to care a whole lot about what you have to say. Those wars are going to be a whole lot more unsustainable and a whole lot more expensive, because all of a sudden they're going to have to raise those taxes to pay for those missiles and bullets. Now they don't have to do that. They can just print it. And printing money is a tax, right? So anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but I just wanted to add to what I just wanted to add to what Opti was saying, because like, dude, like this is not only unsustainable. This is clear that it's unsustainable. There's already symptoms that the system itself is breaking. The moral decay of society, the political polarization that you see, the wealth inequality, the despair and nihilism in the youth. That is what you are seeing it. You are seeing it. You're witnessing firsthand. That is broken money. And by the way, there's a historical context to this. If you take a look at what happened to Weimar Germany when they went through hyperinflation, take a look at it. If you take a look at towards the end of the Roman Empire, take a look at what happened to society. You're going to see a lot of patterns. You're going to be like, oh my God, this has happened before. It has happened over and over and over and over again throughout history. The debasement of money by the state. The only check that they have, and this is why this time it's different, because Bitcoin, again, it's a paradigm shift. It's a totally decentralized currency or network that isn't controlled by anyone, but still enforces the rules. It's not owned by anyone. It's not controlled by anyone, but it still has rules. So in that type of world, this is where my mind is at right now. What is the role of government? What is the role of government? Is government creating more good for you, or is government creating less good for you? We're at the point in the movie that if you post something, no, I saw another thing. If you like a post on social media, they're coming and knocking on your door. That is bat shiitake crazy. All right. That is nuts. That is wild. So anyways, I'm done.
Yeah, guys. Wait.
Now listen, that's called motherfucking boy.
The liking post is, guys, it's a wrap for me. It's over. It's over. Anyways, I was gonna cut you off because we're gonna talk about the CBDCs, but I hope there's a little.
Let's keep this going. But small commercial break.
Yeah.
We'll be right back in a bit.
Be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody. I do want to give a shout out to our new sponsor. I'm going to do a live unboxing on air today. Guys, this is literally by far the easiest hardware wallet to use. One of the things that I've ran into, orange pilling people, the packaging is beautiful. One of the things that I've ran into orange pilling people is the difficulty of using hardware wallets. So that's why we've partnered up with BitKey. It's beautiful. It's very, very nice to the touch. And this is one of the easiest hardware wallets to use. You pair it up with your phone. There's an application. And if you use promo code Simply, you'll get a discount. So let's check out their website for a little bit. And we're incredibly excited about this. But yeah, recover without the worry. Built in multi-sig security. Again, one of the keys is on your phone. One of the keys is on the hardware wallet itself. And then again, in case you lose one of the keys is on the BitKey server. This is the perfect gift to give to people that are not Bitcoin native. So for example, if you have grandparents, if you have, parents that feel intimidated by the technical capacity and capability that you need with other hardware wallets, the BitKey is the perfect gift for them. I've been using it. It's so easy to use. It's incredibly intuitive. And again, if you use promo code Simply, you'll get a $30 discount. So head over to their website today. We're very, very excited about this partnership. And this is an incredibly awesome wallet. So go to bitkey.world. I believe it's developed by Square. So this is a very
shout out Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, shout out Jack
And Block.
Dorsey and Block for developing a wallet that is actually easy to use for the average everyday person that's not plugged into the Bitcoin world. And it has multi-sig built in. So head over to bitkey.world today.
And it's sexy.
It's sexy. And look at the back, bro. And it's built very, very nicely. Anyways, so Opti, I'm going to pass it on to you, my friend.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of hardware wallets and why you need them, let's check out what the ECB is saying now. So they tweeted this this morning, actually late night. I guess it's European time. ECB official Twitter account, and they go, the digital euro keeps you in control of your money, your choices, and your future in an increasingly fragmented world, says executive board member Piero Cipollone. I don't know. A digital form of cash can protect Europe's freedom, autonomy, and security in the digital age. So we have heard this rhetoric for a while now. Christine Lagarde has been doubling and tripling down on a CBDC being launched in October. So who knows if they still have that same timeline, whether it's the beginning of October. But from this speech, I think it's not really ready yet. They're talking about it as if it's coming down the pipeline. So maybe end of October. I don't know. Anyways, I do want to break down the speech a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I kind of just want to pick and choose a few things that really show the rhetoric. And we've been, I think, talking about this type of rhetoric for a long time on our show. And it really just goes to show that they really don't have anything new to say. It's always framed in the same way. So I will point it out as I read some of this. Anyways, this speech is, again, by Piero Cipollone, and it's titled A Digital Euro, Protecting Our Freedom, Autonomy, and Security. I think just in and of itself that protecting our freedom sounds kind of like a Freudian slip. I'm not going to lie. Anyways, we go on and it goes, I often think about the ECB's role as the guardian of the euro. The euro is more than just a currency. It's a commitment to stability, to unity, to a shared European destiny, a destiny built on peace and prosperity. Yet, as we look to Europe's borders, not too far from here, the challenges to peace and prosperity are all too visible. They've faced many challenges, and at the ECB, our aim is clear: to uphold Europe's economic and financial stability in a world that never stands still. Price stability is the primary objective of our monetary policy, and we also help to preserve financial stability by supervising banks, adopting macro-prudential policy measures, and overseeing payment systems. But today is an opportunity to discuss one vital element on our ongoing efforts to deliver stability, ensuring that central bank money, our sovereign money, which Europeans use every day in the form of cash, remains universally acceptable for everyday transaction. Again, very Freudian slip there, I think. In our ongoing efforts to deliver stability, ensuring central bank money, our sovereign money, not your sovereign money here, but whatever. Anyways, it goes on to say that they need to adopt, a digital euro because people aren't using cash. And they would like to focus on how the digital euro will bolster Europe's unity, safeguard our autonomy, and strengthen our resilience in the face of ever-evolving challenges. And then it goes on, sharing a currency is about sharing more than just money. It affirms that our future is bound together. It unites us. Sharing a single currency has a strong geopolitical dimension. My predecessors on the ECB executive board once remarked that our monetary union is as close as it gets to a collective economic defense clause. An attack against one of its members would be an attack against all of them because it would affect a key element of our shared sovereignty, which I really do think is a dig towards the Trump administration. Again, I've been a huge fan of Tom Luongo's work, and a lot of the stuff he's been saying is that many of the moves that Trump has been doing is to literally separate the EU from the US. And this is why you're starting to see a lot of the rhetoric come out of the EU and the ECB in particular as framing, Trump and the Biden administration as a bad thing, because essentially they're trying to pull as much money out of the city of London as possible and reshore it in the US. And I think that was a dig, to be honest. Anyways, sharing a common currency also fosters a sense of belonging that transcends national borders, one that builds on and contributes to our European identity. This is also reflected in citizen support for the euro, which is rooted largely in shared values. It provides a powerful anchor of stability, cementing Europeans' trust in their money, even in times of crisis. 2 points I want to point out on this paragraph in particular. One, which is something I've been saying in regards to the US, but really more globally, is that the powers that be, the central bankers of the world, understand one thing, is that trust in institutions is probably at an all-time low. I don't have the data to show you this, but you're starting to see that there is a very real I don't know how to say it exactly, but a very real suspicion to these institutions. And therefore, literally, because fiat is government words as money, they realize that they need to figure out ways to gain trust back in their money. And I think the fact that they're saying this really, again, is what Sneak always say, bearing the lead here. They're really exposing themselves with that hand. And then also, one other thing that I've noticed, especially in America, in the more patriotic sense of Americans, and usually it is on like the Republican MAGA side, but a lot of Americans, and now I'm extending this globally, a lot of, patriots in every country, they do bizarrely wrap up their patriotism in their local currency. And us as Bitcoiners, as Americans as well, we very much believe that you can still love your country and not use the central bank currency and still, believe in the country you live in. This thought that you have to connect your central bank currency to your patriotism and your love for your country is absolutely asinine. And it's such a good psyop because it's working so well. Anyways, the bedrock of our currency is central bank money, embodied by the banknotes that we have in our wallets. In a world that grows more fragmented by the day, there are strong reasons to preserve and reinforce our money in the years ahead. And this is why we're designing a new series of banknotes, which will celebrate our shared culture and Europe's natural heritage. And this is why we are getting ready to issue a digital euro. As payments become increasingly digital, central banks' money must evolve to keep pace and remain an option for the people of Europe. Absolutely insane. As Nico loves to say on the show, what Bitcoin has proven to the world is that you do not need to use a central bank money to be prosperous. We now have a money that is completely unparalleled to any one nation, any one institution. And this is a feature, not a bug. And so it's funny the framing that they use here that, hey, the bedrock of our currency, the bedrock of society of progress is central bank money. And us Bitcoiners are like, no, bro, like your thesis has been completely blown up. You don't need to use central bank money. And from our perspective, fiat money, or literally words from the government as money, has very thoroughly been proven as the worst kind of money that you want to use. And now we can use Bitcoin. It's just, it seems very, very clear to us. But again, the one thing that we've been coming back to constantly in this conversation around CBDCs is the framing. It is usually framed as a convenience factor, as a payments factor, and they're continuing to double down on this very same idea. I don't know if they're aware of this, but your cash is already digital. What's a digital euro going to do that the euro today can't already do? And it's just funny that they're framing, or rather not funny, but maybe more nefarious that they're framing this as ease of payments. It's like, the only reason that, and this is their counter take, the only reason that Bitcoin was created is for digital payments in a digital world. And you're like, no, dude, it was literally created so that you can't expand the money supply. So you can't debase our currency. So you can't, kick us off the financial system. That is the root cause of the current money that Bitcoin solves. Remember, in the Genesis block, Chancellor on the second brink of bailout. It's all about the debasement of the currency and the theft that is caused through inflation. It's not about digital payments. Zelle and, Cash App and all of the various, PayPal implementations, like digital cash works very well. That's not the problem that Bitcoin solves. Anyways, of course, they're about to launch a digital euro. And this part's interesting. The digital euro is not merely a nice to have thing. You need it. You need it, guys. Trust us. You need the digital euro. And they're basically framing this as people stop using cash. We need a digital euro. We need to update our payments. And it's like, that's not what Bitcoin is here to solve. But it's obviously still working because people still fall for this same time of narratives. Anyways, going further, I do want to go all the way up into the conclusion, because this rest of the part, they're, giving you some stats and saying that we're going to preserve our role, and this is going to bolster Europe's strength and stability and adaptability under pressure. And it's designed for 3 features in mind, yada, yada. You're going to get an app with your money. It's like, oh man, all the apps. We need apps. Anyways, here's the conclusion. And I think this is where, again, we get another kind of smoke sign here, a smoke signal of what they really want. So, conclusion, at its core, our shared currency is a declaration. We choose unity over division, community over isolation, and common destiny over fragmented paths. The idea is embedded in every facet of what we do at the European Central Bank. It is the very heart of our work on the digital euro. We are designing a safe, reliable, and universally acceptable form of central bank money for the digital age. And as ECB President Christine Lagarde said earlier this month, quote, the digital euro is not just a means of payment. It is also a political statement concerning the sovereignty of Europe. The digital euro offers digital form of the very same cash that you are used to. And Europeans highlighted in their Euro Summit statement in March, they emphasized that a more fragmented and digital world, accelerating progress on a digital euro is key, supporting a competitive and resilient European payment system and contributing to Europe's economic security. But a project of this scale cannot succeed if the ECB, the national central banks, the European Commission, the European legislators work alone. It requires expertise, creativity, and commitment from all stakeholders, especially the national communities who bring local insight and innovation from every corner of Europe. Anyways, sorry, guys. I was laughing at how I was saying it. You heard it there very clearly. They're fundamentally admitting that if everyone doesn't adopt the CBDC, it is going to fail. And we've been covering this on the show constantly, with Nigeria being the main kind of highlighted story here, the INARA, that if people absolutely just disregard this, or rather just don't opt into this system and opt into Bitcoin, then it's going to fail, because no one actually needs this. All of this framing is just to kind of make you walk into your own gilded cage. It's not about digital payments, guys. It's about not getting debased. It's about holding something that can store value long term. It's about the 21 million hard cap. It's about the censorship resistant aspects of Bitcoin. And they fail to mention any of this. And I love reading their speech and then kind of, countering all the things they say. But I'm going to pass it over to Nico because Nico was ranting about this. And I think we showed a pretty good example of what they're trying to do and what the last rant was about.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think they're desperate. I think they know there's competition now with money. So a central bank digital currency is not necessary. Like, it doesn't improve anything. It's something that is seeking a problem. It's a solution that's seeking a problem. And this, make no mistake that a central bank digital currency is a response to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And it is the government's way of retaining their monopoly on money. The problem that they're going to have is that they can't shut down Bitcoin because it is decentralized. Because they can't shut it down, they have to compete with it. And if you put Bitcoin and a central bank digital currency right next to each other, and you compare the two, and you say, okay, which one would you rather use? The one that is censorship resistant, you don't have to ask anybody for permission to use it. It's capped, meaning it won't be debased. And you can take it with you wherever you want, as long as you take self-custody of it. Or one that can be censored, has been censored, can be debased. You have to ask permission to use it and to send it. There are limits on how much you can send. You can't take it with you. They're trying to get rid of cash. Over time, who do you think is going to win? Like, let's just talk about the market. I'm a big fan of just capitalism and free markets because I think it's like the free market's going to give you the best signals on what is better. Okay? Who do you think is going to win in that competition? Bitcoin's going to win in that competition every single time. So when you see these types of announcements, they come from a place of desperation. They come from a place of, we are losing. So we need to shove this down your... It is not a coincidence that they're talking about digital IDs. It's not a They're saying you need a digital ID to get a job in Great Britain. Why? Because they want to control you. That's why. There is no what is the justification? What is the reason? What is the reason? I don't know the reason. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, what should be the role of government in society? The role of government in society should be limited. It should provide safety for you, right? That's the whole point. That's the reason you're paying taxes, right? It should protect your property. It's also the reason you're paying taxes. It should provide basic services where you can make an argument for that private companies bidding to provide those basic services would do a better job. But anyways, you could say that the government should do that. But what should be the role of government in a world where they don't control the money? You could say, you want borders and you want the government to protect those borders. But what should be the role of government in society? That's the question that I have for you guys. Did you guys sign up for a CBDC? Did you guys sign up for, why do you need a digital ID to go to work? What the only reason that you can the only conclusion you can get to is you need it because the only way they're going to force people into using a CBDC is via a digital ID because they won't adopt it on their own. And that is in stark contrast with how Bitcoin adoption works. Bitcoin adoption works because people are incentivized to adopt Bitcoin because it's better money. They're coercing you with their monopoly on violence. So one is a system of coercion, and fundamentally it's a system of coercion because it's a system foundationally based on theft, because that is what monetary debasement is. And then there's a system of incentives. My money's on the system of incentives in the long run, but it doesn't mean that the system of coercion isn't going to fight like hell to keep you within the system, because that's how it pays for itself. Though I can't even say it, but yeah. So anyways, if you want to know why they're coming out of, we got to have like a Rumble exclusive part of Simply Bitcoin.
Facts.
If you want to know why they're coming out with these press releases and they're coming out on TV and saying you need an ID and you need to use a CBDC, we're going to lose jobs if you don't adopt a CBDC. If you want to know why they're so desperate, it's because they're losing. That's why. It's because they have competition. That's why. And they're absolutely terrified of the competition. And because they know they can't compete, they have to kneecap their competition. They have to scare you into compliance. They have to force you into compliance. And what type of world is that? What type of world is that? Shouldn't you, as an individual that came into this world, have the choice to pick what money you want to use based on the properties of that money? Shouldn't you have the choice to do that? What gives them the right to get to decide how you should save, how you should earn, especially if we know they have absolutely no consideration for your purchasing power? Why should they get to choose? Tell me, please. Why should they have that right? And this leads me again back to my basic fundamental question. We've already answered the question, what is money? That's Bitcoin. We've already answered that question. That question was answered 5 years ago, bro. The question now is a very simple question. What is government? What should the role of government in society be? Because I'll tell you what, right now, I'm scratching my head and I'm saying, okay, so they're not stopping crime. I'm not getting down that. No. We're going to have a Rumble exclusive part if we're going to get down that conversation. Yeah. But I'm not getting into that. Let's stick to CBDCs. Anyways, so yes, they're losing. They know they're losing. Anyways, we're going to be right back after a small commercial break.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEDigitalTech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Bend's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth. and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io. Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, everybody, we are back. We're back. I want to tell you about Mining Disrupt. Mining Disrupt is going to be the largest Bitcoin mining conference in Texas of this year. It is the biggest Bitcoin mining conference, period. It's November 11th through the 13th of 2025. Use promo code SIMPLY. You'll get a discount. Opti, myself, and Rustin, we're all going to be there November 11th through the 13th. Again, Mining Disrupt Conference, guys. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas. Hashtag Opti is going back to Texas. If you want to get a job in the Bitcoin industry, if you want to get a job in the mining industry, this is the conference you need to go to. You're going to meet all the insiders in the mining industry. Texas is the mecca of the Bitcoin mining world. Cheap energy. It's a grid that's unregulated. Is that the right word? Deregulated, I think. Anyways, guys, go to Mining Disrupt 2025 in Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th. It's coming up. Get your tickets quickly before the prices go up. We'll see you guys there. The whole Simply Bitcoin team will be there. Opti, myself, and Rustin. See you guys in Dallas, Texas, November 11th. It's going to be fantastic. Anyways.
All right, guys. All right. So I want to give a huge applause to the 2020 era, 2020 Bitcoin class. Shouts out to Wicked for putting this visual out here. So if you are a 2020 Bitcoiner, maybe actually if you're a 2024, 2025 Bitcoiner and you started watching us and you're like, man, can the price start to go up? You're earning your stripes. The 2020 class has finally earned their stripes. They've been in the trenches with us for a while. And Wicked did this good visual here. So not going to put the music. I don't know if that's copyright. And it goes, it's officially been 300 weeks since 2020 began. And saving $50 a week in Bitcoin during that time would have turned $15,000 into 0.58 Bitcoin, now worth over $63,000. If you were saving in gold instead, you would have yielded 7.45 ounces of gold worth just over 28K. Bitcoin's a superior long-term savings technology. So again, applause to the 2020 class. I'm sure it's been a fun ride. I've actually have a lot of Bitcoin friends that came out of the 2020 class. Actually, a few of them that work with us and a lot of friends that we work with. And it feels good to see these charts and these visuals by Wicked. It kind of shows you what is really going on here. And I know a lot of people will probably say, look, buying $50 a week, like that's not buying me much. It's, that's not going to get me anywhere. But if you're consistent with it, we can constantly show you the data of what's going on. Like you will have a sizable position in Bitcoin. So if you've been in Bitcoin since 2020 and you've been DCAing every single week, give yourself a, pat on the back. You've earned your stripes officially now. I would say you've officially earned your stripes. I don't know if we're even OGs, but you're a Bitcoiner, true blue or true orange Bitcoiner. To the 2024, 2025 class, something we've been saying on the show for a long time. We've actually kind of stopped saying it recently, but if you stack Bitcoin, because these cycles are getting a little weird on us, who knows what's going on. If you stack Bitcoin for 4 to 5 years, you're going to look back at where you started and where you are now, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised. So you got to just remember the blueprint. It's super easy, or rather, it's super simple to do. It is not easy. You just need to continue to buy Bitcoin, take it into cold storage, and repeat that process. Just smash bi-weekly, monthly. I've been telling you guys this for a long time. If you're newer to the show, just trust the process. Keep stacking Bitcoin for the next, 4 or 5 years. Keep your day job. Make sure you're living below your means and stack Bitcoin, and look at all the other Bitcoiners that have done it. Nico's a 2016 Bitcoiner. I'm a 2017 Bitcoiner. To the 2020 class, they've done it. To anyone before 2016, like you already see them. They're dumping, hundreds of thousands of coins on the market right now. But to the newer guys out there and ladies, 2024, 2025 class, even 2023, I guess, 2020, if you bought in the bear market, just trust the process, keep stacking, and we will applaud you in the near future as well. But TFTC did a funny tweet here, and I'm connecting these two. And here's the headline: investing like the ultra rich is easier than ever, and that worries regulators. And TFTC, just buy Bitcoin. Guys, it's literally that simple. Just buy Bitcoin, or rather save in Bitcoin, and acquire generational wealth, opt out of the matrix, opt into financial freedom. This is the way. This is what you got to do. So to the 2020 class, just wanted to show some love to you guys. It's been a wild ride. I know it hasn't been as glorious this year for the 2024, 2025 class. Actually, the 2024 class is doing pretty good. They're up like 100%. So, 2024 class is probably not that sad. But if you're a 2025 Bitcoiner, let's hope October starts for you, because you're only up like 25% right now. But we'll get you some gains, dude. Just trust the process. Give us a few years here. Trust us. You'll be happy, okay?
Oh, man. Don't worry. Don't worry. You'll own nothing and be happy. Anyways, don't worry. You'll own Bitcoin and be happy. Doesn't that sound way better? I asked 366 of you guys. You guys voted. I said, are you bullish on Q4 of 2025? 88% of you guys said yes. 12% of you guys said no. I'm going to end the poll right there. Guys, we love you. We appreciate you. This was Simply Bitcoin Live for September 29th, 2025. Countdown. One more day. Tomorrow is going to be the last episode.
All right, new poll. Is tomorrow going to dump?
2025, and then we are starting Wednesday. It's going to be Q4, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we're going to have fireworks. Let's see if we're heading into uncharted territory. But one thing's for sure, it's infinity divided by 21 million. If you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We wouldn't be here without you. And we'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of SB Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.